Welcome to another episode of Chad Sports Talk. You don't know, my name's Chad. Take a dive world of sports. And here it is, the recap video for the NFL Super Wildcard Weekend. That's where all the wildcard games are in. The division round matchups are now set. Now it's time to review what transpired this past weekend and determine how well I actually did. And I almost thought I had to come up with a new name for myself. But before we dive into all that aspect, if you could, go ahead and smash that thumbs up for me, especially if you like this content. Please, as YouTube guys, it helps promote this channel. You can also subscribe. I check my analytics. I love you guys reviewing my work, and I love y'all for doing that. And I mean, you subscribe. It doesn't cost you a dime. It helps me provide more entertainment value for you. Now, looking back this past weekend, after I almost decided to call myself Nostradamus. I mean, it was really eerie how quickly these games went the way I picked. I almost went undefeated this weekend, so that's part of why I kind of felt a little like that. But didn't turn out that way at the end. We'll cover all that. If I sound a little under the weather, that because I am. I did kind of somehow catch a cold where I'm at. Temperatures like to swing, 30 degrees one way or the other. And that kind of cut short, so I caught a little cold this past weekend, so I'm still recovering from that. But let's kick this review off with the games this past Saturday. As we're at the Las Vegas Raiders visit the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals looking for their first playoff win in 31 years. It has been that long since, they've won a playoff. The Bengals have won a playoff game. Even those great teams with Dame Tomlinson and Andy Dalton could never seen, get over that hurdle in the playoffs. They always seem to find themselves in there and then just stumble. And could be the new thing with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase now, the dynamic duo from LSU now in Cincinnati. Going from the Bayou Bengals to the Cincinnati Bengals. And could that be the next, stepping stone into revitalizing and maybe getting the Bengals once again back to the Super Bowl. Remember, they've been there twice. And in all access, I pretty much thought this was going to be a Cincinnati win. I thought it'd be a close game as well. I really did. And it actually was not looking that way for most part. In the early part of the game, Cincinnati was able to do what they wanted to do, but the Raiders' defense was limiting Cincinnati to field goals mainly. I mean, at halftime, it was only 20-13, so let you know how close this game really was. And the Raiders' defense doing what they bend, don't break. Only cough up 3, so the whole 7-point swing. And for the Cincinnati side, they actually lost a couple key pieces on their defense. That kind of helped the Raiders get back into it. They're making their comeback, as they always seem to do all year long. Derek Carr had another phenomenal game with 300 yards, over 300 yards passing. He had one TD, one pick, got sacked 3 times, while Joe Burrow had 244 yards passing with 2 TDs, only sacked twice. The running attack was more on the Raiders side. We had 103 yards combined between Jacobs and Carr. Only 83 from the Bengals. Overall, with Mixon leading the charge at 48. But it's really, it was Jamar Chase that really kind of set the tone. Jamar, he had over 100 yards receiving. Usman was like the favorite target for Joe Burrow and like key plays. But turnovers were kind of a bad thing that the Raiders did, which didn't help them at all. But they made a game of it. But it wasn't enough, as Cincinnati was able to hold on and beat the Raiders 26-19. And for those of y'all who texted that the Bengals won, y'all made history because they won before text messaging was a thing. So we'll see kind of how they go off, and I'll go over their next round opponent in a little later in this video. Now, the next game on the docket is the rubber match between the Patriots and Bills, and this was not even a close affair. The Patriots have been kind of shown their weaknesses earlier and late in the season, and the Bills have have revitalized themselves towards the end of the season and made sure that they were running at full throttle. Josh Allen was just throwing it where he shouldn't be throwing it and making, his receivers making amazing catches. He's doing bootlegs and breaking ankles of defensive backs on the way to the end zone. I mean, he was doing everything, and the Bills lit up New England 47-17. I mean, it was not even close. And it's just, one of these things. Bill Belichick is a great coach, and I'm sure he's going to get this team rectified right direction. I mean, Mac Jones is a quality quarterback in New England, so I'm sure this is just the beginning of seeing him in the postseason. But they got some work they got to do in the offseason to kind of make sure they get themselves back in the playoff form. And then Sunday, we'll kick off with the Eagles at Buccaneers. And I said the Bucs should win at least by 10, and boy, did they ever. The Buccaneers were on top for them. They were just lighting them up. The Eagles was just, look like a fish out of water in this game. They couldn't do anything for 3 quarters. They were shut out for 3 quarters. It's like Jalen Hurts was last time he was a quarterback at Alabama and he got benched for Tua because he couldn't perform. And it looked almost eerily similar to that type of matchup. Tom Brady was able to just, pick him apart. They ran. They stifled the Eagles' run. But for the Buccaneers, they did have 2 offensive linemen get hurt. Jansen, the center, did get hurt. But he's able to get back out there, so I'm not sure how bad his injuries are. But the thing is, Wirtz, one of the other the tackles they have, he tried to go back out there. Probably made it worse, unfortunately. So losing that big man there, with this offensive line being one of the healthiest in the league, could play havoc next week. Not too sure. But Tom Brady had no issues beyond that, and they easily dismantled Philadelphia 31-15. I mean, the fourth quarter, it was just gimme points for the Eagles. So then off into Big D, where the 49ers came to play. This was a renewing of the old rivalry between these two franchises that were pretty much big in the 80s and 90s. These Joe Montana, Steve Young, Troy Aikman era of these two franchises, and everything looked like it's supposed to be the Cowboys' way. You look at how much money they spent or has spent on this franchise. Dak Prescott, the 3rd highest paid quarterback in the league. Zeke, I think he's the highest paid running back. The money they spent on Amari, CeeDee Lamb. And then, you still got Travion Diggs, Marco Parsons, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, this team, Zach Martin on offensive line. This is just a stacked franchise. And with the Cowboys, there's always Super Bowl bust with them. That's just how it is. But the 49ers is one of these teams you do not want to face. This is a very well-coached, very disciplined team. They're very good on both sides of the ball. Jimmy G is a very common quarterback. He does tend to turn over sometimes, but the defense does pick up the slack. And you got Deebo Samuel as well, who's a dual threat player. He's either a great receiver or a great running back. he could do both. He can even throw the ball too. He's proven that fact. So you look at that aspect, and early on, they just couldn't. Dallas couldn't do anything. First drive, 49ers scored. Looks like it's going to be a long day. But once again, the Cowboys defense was able to kind of, tighten up the ship a bit. And even though 49ers were able to move down the field, they were only getting 3 points, which really helped out the Cowboys offense, but they couldn't do anything. None of the players for the Cowboys really showed up. That you really expected to perform. Now, could it be play calling that was a big factor? Possibly. Dak Prescott did get sacked 5 times, so for some reason that quality offensive line was just not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They only had 77 yards combined rushing. With all that money they spent, they only get 31 yards out of Zeke on 12 carries. That is just ridiculous. Deebo Samuel had a better average than Zeke, and he ran it 10 times. Elijah Mitchell had 96 yards on the ground and a touchdown. I mean, it was just a one-sided affair that shouldn't have been that way. There are definitely some questionable antics going on with the Cowboys in terms of them actually performing the way they should be performing, especially at the end. Because at the end, all of a sudden, the defense really tightened up on San Francisco. And the offense starting to click, started doing some things they're supposed to be doing. But they just could not capitalize on the position they were in, and actually, quickly score 10 points in the fourth quarter to get themselves in good position to march down the field to possibly win it. They were deep in their own end. They were just moving along. There was like a 4th and 10. They tried to go for it. Dak was rushed to make the throw off target to Wilson, but they were able to get the ball back with some time left. But with 14 seconds left on the clock, they've been working the sidelines and just getting 10 yards a pop, like 3 plays in a row. The 49ers were just giving it to them. And then also the 49ers took away the sideline and gave them the middle of the field. Because the 49ers knew Dallas had no timeouts. So it means if you throw in the middle of the field, that means you got to hurry up, run up, and try to, spike the ball or do a quick play. But with 14 seconds left, Dak saw an opening. He ran. Okay. Fine. But some things kind of transpired after that. I think, one, he should have, dropped earlier. Especially if you got the first down, drop, then you can hurry up, set up, spike the ball. You have plenty of time on the clock. But that didn't happen. Ran, slid. They were setting the ball up themselves. By rule, the ref has to spot the ball. No one turned to hand the ref the ball. So the ref comes running in from behind him, got knocked over, basically trying to get through Dak and the Cowboys offensive line to set the ball. So by the time Dak was able to receive the ball on the hike, which was 1 second, he spiked it. That's in the game. That's it. That's how the Cowboys season ended. They spiked the ball with 0 seconds on the clock. Who call was that? Was that McCarthy? There's a reason why he got ran out of Green Bay in the first place. Or it's supposed to be the genius Kellen Moore, who has been shown that he's not so much of a genius with this Cowboys offense as he gone away from the run. Only time would tell what would happen in the Cowboys in the offseason, but 49ers were able to hold on, beat Dallas 23-17, then move on into the divisional round. Now for the NFC, that means, the divisional round is pretty much set. That means San Francisco will be going to Green Bay in the winter of Monday night, heading out to Tampa Bay. But before we get to Monday night, we got to finish off Sunday night with the Steelers visiting Kansas City. And I thought this would be a little bit closer. I really did. I thought the Steelers defense would be more of a factor. They were a factor early in the game. They truly were. Watt and Haywood was just a dynamic duo in that backfield in that first quarter, in the first half mainly, because there was no points that first quarter between those two teams. Both defenses came out swinging and setting the tone early in the game. And then they were Chiefs trying to do a little trickery with the Wildcat formation, bad handoff. Hay was able to punch out the ball. TJ was able to scoop it up and score a touchdown. That's the first point of the game, was a defensive touchdown by the Steelers. But of course, that was it. That's all the Chiefs needed. Because once that happened, they ran out 35 unanswered points. Patrick Mahomes went off. He was like, nope, you ain't doing this in my house. We'll spot you 7, and we're just going to cream you. And that was it. That was just a performance and a half by Patrick Mahomes. They have a mission in mind to get back to Super Bowl for a third straight year. They want to win it for the second time in 3 years. He had 5 touchdowns alone as the Chiefs dismantled the Steelers 42-21, which possibly could be the final game of Big Ben's career. So unfortunately, he goes off into the tunnel. And the Chiefs fans were actually somewhat accommodated, and they really, boom or nothing. He just cheered him off. But you can see the how he walked backwards. It's definitely not how he wanted. He wanted to go off in the blaze of glory like John Elway did when he won back-to-back Super Bowls with the Broncos before he hung up the cleats. It can't always happen that way, unfortunately. Big Ben had a very, very historic career, and I'm sure he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, 2-time Super Bowl champion for sure. And there's just an era has surpassed in Pittsburgh, and they got to find the next man up to take over that quarterback reins. And they got to kind of come back swinging next year, because if you get a quarterback that actually move, I'm sorry, Ben, but your injuries and your age kind of limited your mobility. So to get a younger quarterback can probably move a little bit. Things probably be a little different in Pittsburgh. So this is not the last time we'll hear about this franchise, of course. This is a very great franchise. So, but once again, Kansas City has moved on, and the AFC side has been also solidified for their matchups. As we'll get Cincinnati will go to Nashville, and the Chiefs will now host the Bills. So some interesting matchups next week. But we still have one more game to go. That's right. The fiasco in LA. The Arizona Cardinals, the Roadbirds visiting the Rams. The rubber match between these two teams. The road teams have won both the previous matchups, with the Rams being more dominant than the previous one. And the way the Rams were playing, I should have gone with what I had in the my preseason polls, or what I had my playoff set up, and I didn't. I fell for the Roadbirds because they're 8-1 on the road. This is a team that you didn't want to face at home. I think Arizona in the right spot. J.J. Watt returned. He came off after missing the last 10 games. But not having DeAndre Hopkins had really hampered it. OBJ definitely was not the issue in Cleveland. He has a very prominent role early on in the Rams offense. He even threw for an amazing pass. Cooper Kupp was also, another prime factor. The stars on the defense showed up for the Rams and just played havoc in the backfield for Murray. Murray threw probably the shortest pick six in playoff history. Like you standing back there trying to make a wedding cake, realizing, I can't be back here in my own end zone like this. Try to run out, you just threw it up. Not a care in the world. They went to the wrong person. There's just a way this team started at the beginning of the year was phenomenal, and then towards the end of the year, they just kind of fell apart. I think injuries were a big factor in this team. Come around from those injuries. Early in the season, they were able to, but for some reason, late in the season, they couldn't. DeAndre Hopkins being gone for the year, it really, really hampered them. And the Cardinals could not recover at all, as the Rams were able to just blow away. Stafford finally got his first playoff win as the Rams win 34-11 and have their date set with Tampa Bay. So next week's game is going to be some interesting matchups. Two offensive powerhouses square off in the AFC with the Bills and Chiefs. And all these games in the NFC side, they could go either way. These four squads are on point. and it's going to be a very interesting weekend next week. We'll kind of see what happens, and with that coming up, I'll get that video out to you guys on Friday. Figuring out who my picks are, and then see if I can, try to go undefeated. Because I only went 5-1 this week, so I did quite well. And let me know down in the comments down below what you thought this past weekend. Was that the play in the Bengals Raiders where Burrow was running towards the sideline through the back of the end zone with that apparent whistle being blown that the refs just, what whistle? Do you think that should have counted? What do you think of the antics of the Cowboys for the end of the game of their series? You think the Eagles were not really deserving that playoff spot? And who's your picks for the Super Bowl? Mine, since the beginning of the season, has been the Chiefs over the Packers. They're still on track to face off. Only time will tell that will happen. Just let me know in the comments below. Were you there? You can also smash that thumbs up for me. You guys subscribe. When you subscribe, you hit that bell notification. Let you know next time I post a video. And I will see you next time on Chat Sports Talk.